Chapter 1. A Boy in the Colonies. The year is 1770, and the 13 American colonies stretch across the eastern coast of North America as farms cover the countryside. Small towns grow beside rivers and harbors. British flags fly over government buildings, and most people expect life to continue as it always has. But history is quietly preparing something different, and your story is about to begin. You are 16 years old, the son of a colonial farmer, and you have no idea that your future will become part of a revolution. Every morning begins before sunrise with animals to feed, fields to maintain, fences to repair, hard work filling every day, life simple, predictable, familiar, and nobody in your family expects war or revolution. At dinner, conversations often focus on taxes. British taxes, new laws, new restrictions. Your father complains frequently. Many neighbors feel the same way. They believe decisions are being made by people far away in London. But for now, these arguments seem like problems for adults. One afternoon, important news arrives from Boston. British soldiers and colonists have clashed. Several colonists were killed, and the event quickly becomes known as the Boston Massacre. Suddenly, politics feels much closer to home. People begin paying attention, and conversations become more serious. Over the next few years, tensions continue growing as colonists become increasingly frustrated. British officials become increasingly strict, meetings are held, debates grow louder, communities become divided, and the future feels uncertain. Then another dramatic event shocks the colonies: the Boston Tea Party, as colonists dump British tea into the harbor. And Britain responds with harsher policies, more restrictions, more soldiers, more anger, and the conflict continues growing. By the time you turn 17, everyone is asking the same question: is war coming? Militias begin training. Weapons are collected. Supplies are stored. Communities prepare for uncertainty. Nobody knows exactly when conflict will begin, but everyone senses it is approaching. Your father begins attending local meetings more often as community leaders discuss preparations. Rumors spread quickly that British troops may march soon and resistance may begin soon. Nobody knows what will happen, yet everyone feels history moving closer. One evening, you stand outside the farmhouse watching the sun set as the fields look peaceful. The sky looks peaceful. Everything seems normal. Yet something feels different. The colonies are changing, and your life is about to change with them. Then the news arrives. British troops are marching toward Lexington and Concord. Armed colonists are preparing to resist. The conflict everyone feared is finally beginning. Tomorrow, history will change forever, and soon you will have to choose a side. Chapter 2. The Road to Rebellion. In April 1775, the colonies stand on the edge of war. For years, people argued about taxes and rights, and now those arguments are becoming something far more dangerous as British troops have received orders. Colonial militias are preparing. Across the colonies, tension fills the air. Everyone feels it: farmers, merchants, families. Nobody knows exactly what will happen next. But everyone knows history is moving fast. Late one night, riders race through the countryside as lanterns swing through the darkness. Horses thunder across muddy roads. The warning spreads from town to town that British troops are marching toward Lexington and Concord. The names traveling quickly, the alarm begun. Before sunrise, your father wakes the family as the atmosphere feels heavy, serious, different. Nobody talks much. Everyone understands something important is happening. Your father gathers his musket. Your mother looks worried. The entire family waits for news. Then the reports arrive. Lexington, Concord, gunfire, casualties, British soldiers, colonial militia. The first battles of the Revolution have begun. Nobody knows exactly how the conflict will end, but everyone knows there is no turning back. Across the colonies, militias begin organizing immediately as ordinary people become soldiers. Farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, teachers, men who never expected to fight a war. Communities unite around a common cause. Resistance has begun. You want to join immediately. Every part of you wants to help. But your father hesitates because you are still young, still inexperienced, yet he understands something important. The future belongs to your generation, and soon you will have to choose your path. Weeks later, you begin training with the local militia. The drill's simple: marching, loading muskets, firing practice, formation movements. Most recruits have never been soldiers before. Mistakes happen constantly, yet everyone is determined to improve. The militia is different from the British Army. There are no perfect uniforms, no professional soldiers, no massive military camps, Most men wear ordinary clothing, carry personal weapons, and train whenever possible, yet they share one powerful belief: freedom is worth fighting for. One evening, community leaders gather everyone together and speak about liberty, rights, representation, independence. The crowd listens carefully. Men, women, young people, old people, everyone understands the importance of this moment. Months pass as fighting spreads across the colonies with more battles, more casualties, more uncertainty, yet resistance continues growing because the dream of freedom is spreading faster than fear. Then life changes forever as the Continental Army begins recruiting. A unified army led by George Washington, volunteers are needed. The war is becoming larger than local militias, larger than individual colonies, larger than anyone imagined. That night, you sit with your family, the room feeling quiet. Finally, you tell them your decision. You are going to enlist. You are going to join the Continental Army. Your mother begins crying softly. Your father remains silent because he already knew this moment would come. The next morning arrives quickly as your belongings are packed. Your musket is prepared. Friends and neighbors gather. Some smile, some worry. Everyone understands the risks ahead because war changes everything. Before leaving, your father places a hand on your shoulder and gives simple advice. Protect the men beside you, do what is right, and come home if you can, words that stay with you forever. As you ride away from the farm, you look back one final time at the fields, the farmhouse, the family, the life you have always known, while ahead lies uncertainty, battles, sacrifice, history. For you left home as a farmer's son, and soon you will become a soldier. Chapter 3. Joining the Continental Army. The journey to the Continental Army camp takes several days as roads are crowded with volunteers. Farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, men from every colony. Some riding horses, others walking for miles, all moving toward the same destination, a growing army, a growing revolution, a growing dream called independence. Eventually, the military camp appears as hundreds of tents stretch across the landscape. Campfires burn throughout the evening. Soldiers move everywhere. Officers issue orders. Horses carry supplies. Drums echo through the camp, and for the first time, you truly understand the scale of the war. This is no local militia, this is an army. Registration begins immediately as names are recorded. Equipment is inspected, units are assigned, officers organize the new recruits. Everything feels serious, official, permanent, and your life as a soldier has begun. You quickly discover a problem. The army lacks supplies. Uniforms are limited, food is limited, ammunition is limited. Many soldiers bring their own weapons. Some uniforms barely match. The army has courage, but courage alone cannot win a war. Training begins before sunrise with marching, drilling, loading muskets, firing practice, formation movements, every day following a strict routine. Mistakes corrected immediately, discipline becoming part of daily life. The training feels exhausting as your muscles ache. Your feet blister, your hands become rough. Yet every day you improve. Every day you become stronger, more disciplined, more confident, and slowly a soldier begins emerging. During training, you make new friends from different colonies, different backgrounds, different accents, different lives, yet all share the same goal of independence. Friendships forming quickly inside military camps, sometimes lasting a lifetime. One evening, excitement spreads through camp as soldiers gather near the main road. Officers stand at attention. Whispers spread rapidly that General Washington is arriving, and everyone wants to see him. Then you finally see George Washington, calm, professional, confident. He rides through camp inspecting the troops. The soldiers cheer. Hope spreads. Leadership matters, and Washington inspires confidence. Weeks pass as training continues, but supplies remain limited. Food shortages appear regularly. Uniforms wear out. Equipment breaks. Frustration grows. Yet the army continues moving forward. One morning, new orders arrive as British military activity is increasing. Commanders expect combat soon. The atmosphere changes immediately. Training no longer feels like preparation but a countdown. The first battle approaching. Muskets are inspected carefully. Ammunition is distributed. Equipment is prepared. Soldiers double-check everything. Nobody says it openly, but everyone understands that some men standing here may never return home. Fear begins appearing in unexpected ways. Quiet conversations, sleepless nights, nervous laughter, long stares into campfires. Most recruits have never experienced combat, and nobody knows how they will react when battle begins. Late that night, you write a letter home telling your family about camp life. about training, about Washington, about your new friends, avoiding mention of your fears because some worries are easier to carry alone. Before sunrise, drums begin beating throughout the camp. Officers move quickly between tents. Soldiers gather equipment. Orders are shouted, lines begin forming. The army is moving, training is over, preparation is over. Today you march toward your first battle, and today your life changes forever. Chapter 4. The first battles. The drums begin before sunrise as soldiers rush from their tents. Officers shout commands. Muskets are loaded. Equipment is checked one final time. Nobody jokes this morning. Nobody smiles. Because today is not training, today is battle. And today, for the first time, you will face the British Army. The march feels endless as hundreds of soldiers move together. Boots strike dirt roads, drums echo through forests, officers ride beside the columns. Nobody knows exactly what waits ahead. Rumors spread constantly. Some say the British are nearby. Others say they are far away, and uncertainty follows every step. Then you hear it, a distant gunshot, then another, then many more. The sound freezes everyone for a moment because this is no drill, no practice exercise. This is war. Real war. Officers immediately organize the troops as lines form rapidly. Muskets are prepared. Commands spread through the ranks. Your heart pounds harder than ever before, and every lesson from training suddenly matters. Every drill, every command, every movement. Then you see them. British redcoats. Professional soldiers in perfect formations with bright red uniforms. The most powerful army in the world standing across the battlefield, waiting, watching, ready. Fear spreads through the ranks as some soldiers whisper prayers. Others grip their muskets tighter. Nobody wants to die yet. Nobody leaves because everyone understands why they are here. Freedom demands sacrifice, and today may require theirs. Suddenly the battlefield explodes as muskets fire, cannons roar, smoke fills the air. Officers shout commands, men fall, horses panic, and the peaceful world you once knew disappears instantly as chaos takes its place. You load your musket, fire, reload, fire again. Everything happens too quickly. But training takes over, and survival becomes the only goal. During the fighting, a soldier beside you falls. One moment he is standing, the next he is gone. And the reality of war strikes harder than any bullet, because these are no longer newspaper stories but real lives, real sacrifices, real losses. Despite the chaos, your unit keeps fighting as officers rally the men. Soldiers hold their positions. Every minute feels like an hour. Fear remains, but courage grows beside it, and you discover something important. Courage is not the absence of fear, but acting despite it. Eventually, the battle begins changing as British troops pull back. The firing slows. Smoke starts clearing. The battlefield grows quieter, and slowly everyone realizes the battle is ending, and you are still alive. Victory feels different than expected. There is relief, pride, gratitude, but also sadness as wounded soldiers fill the field and empty places remain in the ranks, for war always demands a price. That evening, camp feels quieter than usual as soldiers sit around campfires, some writing letters home, others staring silently into the flames, everyone processing the day differently. Yet one thing is certain. You are no longer the same person who arrived at camp. News of the battle spreads across the colonies as patriots celebrate, families pray, communities discuss the future, men and women alike follow every report. The revolution continues growing, and so does hope. As you prepare for sleep, one realization becomes impossible to ignore. You left home as a farm boy. You joined the army as a recruit, but today changed everything. Today you faced battle. Today you faced fear. Today you survived war. And tomorrow even greater challenges await, because the hardest chapter of the revolution is still ahead. Valley Forge. Chapter 5. Winter at Valley Forge. The year is 1777. The revolution has already lasted longer than anyone expected, and you have survived battles, long marches, fear, hunger, and loss. Yet the future remains uncertain because British forces still control important cities. The Continental Army still struggles, and now winter is coming. Orders arrive quickly that the army will spend the winter at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania. Many soldiers have never heard the name before, but soon none of them will ever forget it. And the march begins immediately as thousands of soldiers move through freezing weather. Roads become muddy, supplies remain scarce, and the journey is miserable. The cold becomes unbearable as many soldiers lack proper boots. Some wrap cloth around their feet. Others march with damaged shoes. Snow begins falling. Every step becomes painful. Yet nobody stops because the army must survive or the revolution will fail. Eventually, Valley Forge appears, but there are no barracks waiting, no comfortable shelters, no warm buildings, only forests, snow, open ground, and freezing wind, so the army must build its own camp. Construction begins immediately as trees are cut down, logs are carried, cabins are built. Every soldier works, including officers, day after day, and slowly a winter village begins emerging from the wilderness. But shelter alone cannot solve everything because food remains scarce. Meat is limited, bread is limited, supplies arrive slowly. Hunger spreads throughout the camp, frustration grows, and some soldiers begin questioning how much longer they can continue. Then disease arrives, fever, pneumonia, smallpox, typhus. Illness spreads quickly through crowded cabins. Every day brings more suffering, more funerals, more loss, more uncertainty. Disease becomes more dangerous than British bullets, as men who survived battles now fight for their lives inside cabins. Doctors work constantly. Resources remain limited. Yet somehow the army survives, barely, one difficult day at a time. During these difficult months, one figure becomes increasingly important. George Washington stays with the army, sharing its hardships and struggles, walking through camp personally, encouraging soldiers and refusing to abandon them. Many armies would have collapsed under these conditions. Some soldiers think about deserting, others think about quitting. Yet Washington's leadership keeps the army together because he believes victory is still possible even when success feels impossible. Then help arrives from Europe as Baron von Steuben. A professional military officer immediately notices weaknesses in training. Discipline and organization, the soldiers are brave, but bravery alone cannot win wars. Von Steuben begins transforming the army with new drills, new formations, new standards. Soldiers practice every day despite the cold, despite the hunger, despite the exhaustion, and the army slowly improves. At first, many soldiers dislike the strict training because it feels repetitive, exhausting, demanding. But results become obvious quickly as units move better, fight better, work together better, and confidence begins replacing uncertainty. As winter slowly ends, something remarkable happens. The army that entered Valley Forge no longer exists. Not physically, but mentally, professionally, spiritually. The frightened collection of volunteers has become a real army. Spring finally arrives as snow begins melting, grass begins returning, the camp comes alive once again. The suffering was terrible, the losses were painful, but Valley Forge accomplished something extraordinary. It transformed survivors into soldiers, and soon those soldiers will begin changing the course of history. Chapter 6. Turning the Tide. Spring 1778 arrives as the snow of Valley Forge is finally gone. The suffering remains in memory, the hunger, the disease, the freezing nights. Yet something has changed because the Continental Army is stronger, more disciplined, more confident, more professional, and you can feel it every time the army marches. Exciting news spreads through camp that France has officially joined the war. Soldiers cheer, officers celebrate. For years America fought mostly alone, and now one of Europe's most powerful nations has become an ally. Suddenly victory feels possible. The alliance changes everything as French weapons arrive. French money arrives, French ships arrive. Britain can no longer focus entirely on the colonies, and the balance of power begins shifting slowly but noticeably. Soon, new orders arrive as British forces are moving through New Jersey, and Washington sees an opportunity. The army prepares to engage. Months of training at Valley Forge are about to be tested, and the coming battle will reveal how much the army has improved. June 1778 brings the Battle of Monmouth as temperatures soar, the summer heat brutal. Soldiers sweat beneath heavy uniforms, dust fills the air. Yet nobody complains because after Valley Forge this feels easier. The fighting begins as muskets fire, cannons roar, smoke spreads across the battlefield. British troops advance, Continental soldiers respond, but something feels different this time. The army moves with confidence and the training is working. Earlier in the war, confusion often spread quickly as orders were misunderstood. Units became disorganized, panic sometimes followed. But not today as soldiers maintain formation, officers execute plans, and discipline holds. During the battle, you witness remarkable courage as soldiers continue fighting despite exhaustion. Heat and danger. Men who once doubted themselves now perform like professionals. The army has changed, and so have you. By the end of the day, the British withdraw. The battle is not a decisive victory, but it proves something important. The Continental Army can stand against British regulars, not merely survive, but compete, fight, and endure. In the months that follow, optimism grows as French support continues arriving, new supplies appear, better weapons and equipment appear, conditions improve, and for the first time many soldiers begin imagining an independent America. Yet the war continues as British armies remain dangerous. Battles continue across the colonies. Families remain divided. Loyalists and patriots continue arguing. Independence is still uncertain, and the struggle is far from over. During a quiet evening, you reflect on how much has changed. 3 years ago, you were a farmer's son. Now you are a veteran soldier, a survivor, a participant in history, and the revolution has transformed you. New recruits continue joining the army. Many remind you of yourself. Nervous, excited, unprepared, and you begin helping train them, sharing lessons learned through hardship, passing knowledge forward. Washington continues leading from the front as his determination never fades, his patience never disappears. Even during difficult moments, he remains focused on the larger goal of independence, liberty, and a new nation. As another year of war passes, hope grows stronger than ever before because the army is improving. France is helping, British momentum is fading, victory no longer feels impossible, yet wars are rarely won quickly. More battles await, more sacrifices await, more years of struggle remain, and the long war continues. Chapter 7. The Long War is now 1780. 5 years have passed since the Revolution began. 5 years of battles, 5 years of sacrifice, 5 years of uncertainty. Many soldiers who joined with you are gone. Some returned home, some deserted, some died on distant battlefields. Yet you remain older, wiser, hardened by war. The British changed their strategy. Instead of focusing on the north, they moved south into Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina because British commanders believe Southern loyalists will help them win the war. And once again, the revolution enters a dangerous new phase. Orders arrive quickly as your unit is sent south, the journey exhausting with rough roads, limited supplies, summer heat becoming unbearable. Yet the army keeps moving because every mile matters, every battle matters, every decision matters. The Southern War feels different as dense forests replace open fields, swamps replace farmland, ambushes become common, danger hides behind every tree. The enemy is often invisible, and survival requires new skills. Patriot militias become increasingly important as local fighters know the land. Striking quickly, then disappearing, British troops struggle to respond, and small victories begin weakening British control throughout the South. One evening, your unit arrives at a settlement damaged by war with burned buildings, empty homes, frightened families, and the sight reminds everyone of an important truth. Wars are not fought only by soldiers. Civilians suffer too. Throughout the campaign, battles continue. Some victories, some defeats. Some victories that feel like defeats. Some defeats that create future victories. The revolution becomes a test of endurance as neither side can achieve a quick victory. By now, younger soldiers look up to you, asking questions, seeking advice, following your example, and you remember when you were the inexperienced recruit because time has changed everything. News arrives from across the colonies that British resources are stretched thin. France continues supporting the revolution. International pressure increases, and the war is becoming expensive, difficult, unpopular even in Britain itself. Despite encouraging news, daily life remains difficult with food shortages continuing. Uniforms wearing out, pay arriving late or sometimes never arriving. Yet soldiers continue serving because they believe the cause remains worth the sacrifice. One night, sitting beside a campfire, you think about home. Nearly 6 years have passed. Family members have aged, friends have changed, entire communities have transformed, and the war has affected everyone, not just those carrying muskets. Then reports begin arriving more frequently that British commanders are making mistakes. Patriot forces are becoming stronger, more victories are being achieved, more territory is being recovered, and for the first time, many soldiers begin believing the end may be approaching. Excitement spreads throughout camp, not because victory is guaranteed, but because victory suddenly feels possible, and hope becomes one of the Army's greatest weapons, strengthening morale, determination, and resolve. As another campaign season ends, your unit receives unexpected news that major operations are being planned with American forces and French forces working together, a large opportunity emerging that could change the course of the entire war. Looking across the camp, you realize how far the Army has come, from frightened volunteers to experienced soldiers, from scattered colonies to a united cause, from uncertainty to hope. The revolution is not over, but victory is finally visible on the horizon. And soon history will reach its turning point. Yorktown. Chapter 8. Victory and Independence. It is 1781. 6 years have passed since the Revolution began. 6 years of battles, 6 years of sacrifice, 6 years of uncertainty. The colonies are exhausted. The army is exhausted. Even Britain is exhausted. Yet nobody knows exactly how the war will end, because victory feels close. But history has taught you something. The final step is often the hardest. Exciting news spreads through camp that French forces have arrived in greater numbers. Soldiers cheer, officers celebrate. For years America fought mostly alone, and now American and French armies prepare to fight together, a powerful alliance finally becoming reality. Washington sees an opportunity as British General Cornwallis has established a position at Yorktown, Virginia, the location appearing strong, defensible, secure. But Washington develops a bold plan that could end the war. The army begins moving south as secrecy becomes critical. Soldiers march long distances, wagons carry supplies, horses pull artillery, thousands of men move together, and the operation becomes one of the largest military movements of the war. Then more good news arrives. The French Navy defeats British ships near Virginia. The sea is now blocked. Cornwallis cannot easily escape. Reinforcements cannot easily arrive, and the trap is beginning to close. By late September, Yorktown is surrounded by American forces, French forces, artillery batteries, and defensive positions. British soldiers suddenly find themselves trapped. The siege begins, and with it perhaps the final chapter of the war. Day after day, artillery fires as cannon shake the earth, smoke covers the battlefield, trenches move closer to British positions. Every day weakens Cornwallis further and strengthens American hopes. One night, your unit receives dangerous orders to capture British defensive positions. The mission risky, the fighting intense, yet success could shorten the siege dramatically. Volunteers step forward, and you are among them. Under darkness, the attack begins as soldiers move quietly. Muskets remain unloaded. Bayonets are fixed. Hearts race, and every step brings you closer to danger, closer to history, closer to victory. The fighting is fierce as British defenders resist strongly. Shouting fills the night, steel clashes, smoke spreads. Yet the attack succeeds. Key positions fall. The siege tightens further, and Cornwallis's options are disappearing. Days later, something remarkable happens as British artillery grows quieter. British activity slows. Rumors spread rapidly about surrender. Yet few soldiers dare believe it because the war has lasted too long and hope has been disappointed before. Then it happens. White flags appear, the firing stops, silence spreads across the battlefield. Soldiers stare in disbelief. British forces are surrendering. And after years of sacrifice, victory has finally arrived. On October 19, 1781, British troops march out to surrender as weapons are stacked. Flags are lowered, American and French soldiers watch. Many can hardly believe what they are seeing. One of the most powerful armies in the world has been defeated. Celebrations spread throughout the colonies as bells ring. Crowds gather. Families rejoice. Men, women, and children all sense history changing, and the revolution has been won. As you stand beneath the evening sky, you think about everything that brought you here. Lexington conquered Valley Forge, countless battles, countless sacrifices, friends lost, victories earned. The dream that once seemed impossible has become reality. America is about to become a nation. But one final chapter remains, the legacy of freedom. Chapter 9. The legacy of freedom. The guns have finally fallen silent after years of war. The fighting is over. The battles are over. The marching is over. The uncertainty is over. And for the first time in years, you wake up without expecting combat. It feels strange, almost unnatural because war became your daily life and peace now feels unfamiliar. News spreads throughout the army that Britain is preparing to recognize American independence. Soldiers gather around newspapers listening carefully, waiting anxiously, hoping the rumors are true, hoping their sacrifices meant something, hoping the dream is finally becoming reality. Then the announcement arrives. The United States of America will be recognized as an independent nation. Cheers erupt. Men, women, and families celebrate together. Church bells ring. And for the first time in history, America is free. Yet victory brings new questions about what happens next because the Army will eventually disband. Soldiers must return home, communities must rebuild, a nation must be created, and independence is not the end, but the beginning. One day, George Washington addresses the Army, and the soldiers listen carefully. For years he carried the burden of leadership through victories, defeats, Valley Forge, Yorktown, everything, and his words carry enormous weight as he reminds everyone what they fought for. Not wealth, not power, not glory, but freedom, self-government, opportunity, the chance to build a better future, and his speech inspires everyone present. Soon afterward, soldiers begin returning home as roads fill with veterans. Some return to farms, some to businesses, some to families they have not seen in years. The Army slowly disappears, but the bonds created during war remain forever. Your own journey home feels emotional as every mile brings memories of battles, friends, hardships, victories, losses. You left home as a teenager and return as a man. Eventually, your family's farm appears on the horizon with the same fields, barn and house. Yet everything feels different because you are different. For the revolution changed the nation, and it changed you. Your family rushes to greet you with tears filling their eyes and smiles appearing everywhere. Years of worry finally end. You survived while many others did not. The reunion is joyful, yet you never forget those who never came home. The years that follow bring new challenges as America is free, but freedom is only the first step. Laws must be written. Governments must be formed. Institutions must be created. The new nation must prove it can survive. As the country grows, younger generations want stories about what battles felt like, what Washington was like, what freedom cost, and you answer honestly that it cost more than most people realize. Years later, you attend a gathering of veterans where old friends meet once again. Hair has turned gray, faces have aged, yet memories remain vivid. And together you remember those who never returned and the struggle that created a nation. Looking back, you realize something important. Most people will never know your name. History books may never mention you. Statues may never be built in your honor. But that does not matter because freedom was never won by one person. It was won by thousands of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. You began as a farmer's son, became a militia volunteer, then a Continental Army recruit, then a soldier, then a veteran. And along the way you witnessed the birth of a nation, survived battles, endured Valley Forge, marched beside heroes, helped secure independence, and although history remembers famous names, the United States was built by people like you, ordinary citizens who chose courage over fear, sacrifice over comfort, freedom over submission. And because of those choices, a new nation was born. From farmer's son to revolutionary soldier to founder of a nation, this was your life as a Revolutionary War soldier.